Hi, I'm Victoria Findlay Wolfe. I am a longtime quilter, artist, author, and teacher. And today I'm here to share with you my newest fabric collection called Modern Shirtings for Free Spirit Fabrics. Inspiration for this collection really came from spending time looking at vintage photos of my grandparents from the 50s and 60s. My grandmother always was wearing a cotton house dress with these amazing, great shirting prints. My grandfather always had his button-up work shirts in plaids and pinstripes. And even looking back at my own work, my fondness for shirting fabrics isn't new. I mix in shirtings in my stripes, plaids, and polka dots quilt from my 15 Minutes of Play book, and added shirtings to denim in my Farm Girl quilt in the Double Wedding Ring book. I'm often drawn to the subtle, soft fabrics that pull the viewer close so that you see another level of texture and pattern and color. Mixing some of those fabrics that appear similar until you're up close and personal, like in my Spinning Tops quilt. This adds a whole nother layer to the quilt design and to the negative space. I have a very hard time just dropping one color in the background. I want to be able to use up all of these different sorts of prints for color, inspiration, for movement, whether it's using a little plaid, or whether it's a subtle print that gives me some movement that way with a little bit of negative space, or maybe I'm incorporating prints that are making a connection to all the colors that I'm adding into my scrappy quilts, okay? The more fabrics, the better as far as I'm concerned. I want to be able to make sure that the fabrics that I'm adding are making a connection to the background of the block just as much as I am to the foreground of the block. So I love to add, 10 to 12 different prints into the backgrounds just for the interest that I'm going to get when I'm up close and personal and snuggled up in that quilt. The 50s were also quite popular in our household for music and for vintage cars. So you'll find that these prints all have some neato names and that are all 50s slang. And that was really fun to kind of go back and learn where some of those terms have come from. So now let's have a look at the fabrics. Oftentimes I find we love to take our really pretty bright color fabrics and just use a white in the background, but I love to drop in all of these interesting prints so that there's more information and more depth to the style of the quilt by just dropping in a variety of neutrals. I hope you really enjoy looking at this collection and working with this collection. I love always having a really great stripe to play with. You got to have movement in your quilts, small prints with a multitude of colors in them. Anything that helps tie together a whole palette of fabrics, because the more fabrics I can put in one quilt, the better it's going to be.